Hi, I did my research paper on online versus in-class schooling. So, through my schooling career, I always um, heard about online schools, maybe some pros and cons to them. I knew people that got homeschooled. Um, it was just something that I was exposed to, but I personally never wanted it. I went to a public high school with 250 other people in my class, and it was a really great experience. I never wanted to get homeschooled for any reason. But after doing this paper, I can see why some students would choose that. So one of the main reasons why students choose to get online schooled is because of convenience. So if you have other responsibilities, you can do those and get an education. So if you need to have a job, or say like a single mother wants to complete some college classes, she can work a job, take care of her kid, and take the online classes. So that's a really great aspect to it. It says about 70% of all students, they claim that online instruction to be as good or better than in a traditional classroom setting. And that's from the University of Potomac's website. Another reason why a student may choose to take online schooling is because they can work at any time. I know sometimes it was hard for me to focus in the morning, or some people get a lot worse. They just can't do it in the morning or later in the day. So like this is really convenient for them because if they need to, they can do their work at 9:30 at night if that's when they can, really comprehend what they're trying to learn. And another thing, because they can move at their own pace, they can work whenever they want. And so sometimes in classrooms, if you don't understand something, you could get left behind because the teacher has to move at a general pace that fits best for almost all of her students. And, sometimes you could not understand it as quickly as the other students, or you could understand a lot faster, and then it's just boring to sit there and you lose focus on the topic and interest, and it's just like very detrimental to them. It's also a lot easier to access online classes, especially on a college level. I know moving to college was a big adjustment for me, being away from my friends and my family and adjusting to a new environment, having to live with a roommate. It was just a lot of stress. So a lot of people, this can be a huge obstacle for most people to overcome. But with taking online classes can be like a lot easier because you don't have to be away from your family or your friends, and it's a lot easier to get accepted into an online program rather than a typical university. Um, Also, the online classes are a lot less expensive, so you could save yourself a lot of money and potentially reduce your future debt by a lot. Another reason could be the better student-to-faculty ratios. Compared to a classroom in typical public school, online classes gain much more one-on-one access. I know when I was in high school, some of my classes had about like 30 or more students in them, and that could be like a lot harder for us as students to focus because there's more of our friends in the classes, we can get distracted easily, and it's really hard on the teacher as well because trying to get a lot of students one-on-one access that they all kind of need to understand things could be really hard and tiring to them to do 30 students per class, give them all what they need for 7 periods a day, and then by the end of the day the teacher could be completely wiped out and their last classes could not be getting the same quality lesson that her first couple periods got. It's also been known that online learners test a lot better on standardized tests than in-class learners. So, again, from the University of Potomac, it says the average score of classroom learners is in the 50th percentile, but the average score of online learners is in the 59th percentile. It's a pretty big difference on standardized tests, which are a big deal in schooling now these days. The second most common reason behind convenience could be safety. Many times when see the news, we see about a new shooting or anything like that, And we've recently gotten a lot better with that in like teaching students how to handle situations like that. But I know the way that I got taught in elementary school, I definitely would not be safe. They told us to go sit in the corner and hide from the shooter, but that we know now that that's not very effective. So now we're learning more about how to be more safe in classrooms, how to attack the shooter and stuff with the Alice training. That started to be a big thing towards the end of my high school. So I think we're making really good strides to keep our schools a lot safer, but still, online schools are a lot safer because you don't have any chances of that happening, really. And another reason is because of bullying. Bullying has like recently been a really big thing too, especially with the appearance of cyberbullying. So bullying can make a lot of students like be unable to focus on their work or like not want to go to school at all, which could push them to just not do well in school, which if they take online classes, it can completely eliminate this issue. But with a topic like this, we have to take good with the bad. And while there are some valid and really good reasons why a student may choose to take online classes, there are also reasons why they should not. And one of the main concerns is the lack of social interaction. Emotional and social development is often created through interacting with different kinds of people. And I know personally through my high school, I was exposed to a lot of different people, a lot of different races, personalities, home backgrounds, religions. It was a really great experience to be exposed to that, and I don't think I'd be the same person today if I hadn't been exposed to all of those different people. I'd be a lot less understanding, and I just think it's a really great thing is to just get exposed to different kinds of people, and high school can really do that for a lot of students. Another con to online schooling, especially if you're talking about the college level, are the resources aren't used as frequently. So if you're never on campus because all your classes are online, you'd be less likely to visit like a academic success office, which could offer you a lot of helpful resources like resume building and job searches. And while like students can do that on their own through a computer, you don't gain the personal relationships that you would as if you were to go to that office and talk to somebody about all the different things that you need. And who knows, like that person could be the key to your dream job. They could help you get your dream job. You never know. So it's just a really great tool that some schools can have. And if you never go, then you probably won't ever access those. Another con is all of the interaction with teachers is written, and a lot of things can be lost in translation. You could not be able to determine the meaning, be hard to understand the lesson or feedback on your work. It's just not interacting face to face with a teacher can cause a lot of confusion in general. And then another issue to online classes is that students have to be independently driven to do their work. There's no one there telling them, hey, this is due next Friday, this is, you need to do this by tomorrow. Emails can be effective, but a lot of times we skim emails, we don't really read everything, and then a lot of things could be just lost or not read. Another issue is that some colleges won't accept certain online high school diplomas, and other colleges, they just won't accept that. And if you get an online college degree, sometimes if you are competing for the same job as someone who got lived on campus and went to a typical university, the employers can see that, and you might lose your job to that person because they just like the exposure that a lot of students got by going to a university. But there are some advantages to in-class learning as well. It provides students with a sense of community with their peers, teachers, and staff. It makes it more convenient for students to meet with teachers or professors. And even though it's not strictly technologically based, classrooms can still incorporate online learning into their lessons. Most schools have computer labs, and you can go there and incorporate technology into your lessons, and that can be very beneficial, but you can still get all of the advantages to going to a typical classroom. For my primary research, I talked to one of my old friends who experienced both like public school and online school. After 7th grade, she did online school because her mom had a new kid and she wanted her other kids to be there so that it would just be a lot more convenient. They could help out. Just really a helpful thing for her to be at home taking online classes. And she really liked them. She was able to move at her own pace, and she was still able to communicate with like peers and teachers and stuff. But she still believed there was like a distance between her and her peers just because of the technology. You can't meet face to face as easily, and it just can cause a barrier sometimes, and we've all seen that. She attempted to do sports one time, but she almost knew nobody at the practice, and so that really like was discouraging to her, and she stopped going. It's just hard for her to get involved with stuff because she just felt she didn't know anybody, and she felt she had like some barrier because she was homeschooled, and technology caused that for her. But as soon as she got the chance in 10th grade, her mom said she could go back, and so she came back to my high school. So overall, we can see that online schools and in-class schools both have their pros and cons, and each student has to decide on their own what's best for them. And then over here is my infographic. So here I have that 70% of students believe that online schools are better than typical classes. And over here you can see that 30% of people are enrolled in at least one online class. Here's a little picture about it says the most important thing to know about typical classrooms is how much social interaction each student can receive. And that's really important to me. I think that's one of the most important things that I learned from my public school. Then over here are some reasons why you should choose online versus a typical classroom. So over here's the reason, and then if the online school has it or it's better at the online school, there would be an X in that column. Or if in the typical classroom it's a lot better, then there would be an X in this column. So, you know, like safety is better in the online school, but face-to-face interaction is a lot better in the typical classroom. So this is just a good graph, I think, to show you the pros and cons to each type of learning. But that's my project, and yeah, thanks.